Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, if you could please give a nice warm welcome to the CEO of Clio, Mr. Jack Newton!
That's how we open up a conference, New Orleans style here at Clio. Thank you for joining us for the 5th annual Clio Cloud Conference. Welcome everyone. We are so excited to share an amazing set of product announcements with you. We have the 2017 Legal Trends Report to roll out, and also some images we want to share with you, some vision we have for how we're going to be building the future of Clio, and we're really excited to share all of that with you over the next hour. I want to remind you that the Clio Cloud Conference is a thing on Twitter. We've trended every single year on Twitter, and this year I expect will be the same. Please make sure to tag your tweets with hashtag ClioCloud9. And if you're not already following me, I invite you to join. Follow me at Jack_Newton. Before we get into the official program as well, I want to acknowledge the fact that we're hosting this conference in New Orleans, which was obviously devastated by a hurricane just 12 years ago. And many of you I know have been directly or indirectly affected by the hurricanes on the Gulf Coast here. And of course there's the earthquake in Mexico, which has brought a lot of devastation in that area. We want to do our part to support that here at Clio, and we're running a GoFundMe over the course of the next 2 days, where Clio will match every single dollar given by attendees in this conference, and are kicking. And we're kicking that off with a $10,000 donation just to prime the pump. So please join us over the next 2 days. So visit this page. We're supporting the Red Cross. You can choose which of the disaster relief efforts you'd like to support directly, or decide you'd like to support all of them. So thank you for doing that. So the 2017 conference, in 5 short years, we brought this conference from 200 attendees at our inaugural conference. And by the way, can I have a show of hands or a cheer from anyone who was at the first conference 5 years ago? That's amazing. I think that's maybe every single person that was at the first conference. About 100 people there, and in 5 short years we've grown this to 1,200 attendees in this room today. You can see we've got a sold out at capacity crowd, and more than that, we've got 30 partners delivering this conference, helping us realize our original vision for the conference, which was to make it something much bigger than Clio. We wanted to make this about the cloud and how we can transform the practice of law with technology and the cloud. And we have an entire floor of partners that are supporting this conference and helping bring it to a level that we just wouldn't be able to on our own. This conference has also grown from a regional conference to one that is drawing an international audience. We have attendance from all over the globe here, from over 20 countries, people coming from as far afield as Europe, in South Africa, just an amazing number of attendees joining us from all over the world. We also have an unbelievable lineup of speakers for the conference. We have Colonel Chris Hatfield capping off today as our closing keynote for day 1. Mr. Hatfield is one of the most famous Canadians to ever walk this earth. He commanded the International Space Station for almost a year, and he wrote a really inspirational book that I think you'll be surprised by how many parallels there might be with the life of an astronaut and the life of a lawyer. Tomorrow we have Haben Girma opening up day 2. She earned recognition as a White House Champion of Changes. She's named as one of the Forbes 30 Under 30. She was the first deafblind person to graduate from Harvard Law School. I had the opportunity and the privilege of meeting Haben last night, and she is an unbelievable woman that I look forward to hearing from tomorrow. And finally, closing out tomorrow will be Mr. Preet Bharara, who is an inspirational lawyer, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. He's just been named former U.S. Attorney of the Southern District of New York, just named as CNN's senior legal correspondent, publishing a new book shortly, and just launched a new podcast. And we have 30 other speakers joining us over the next 2 days, delivering on a range of topics that I think you will find inspirational, and hopefully walk away from this conference with a number of huge takeaways on how you can transform your law practice. Let's give a huge round of applause to all the speakers that have come from across the country to deliver. If you haven't already, I would also encourage you to download the official conference app. This conference app will help you understand where to go when. There's a lot of programming going on and a lot of details to pay attention to. So make sure to download the conference app. And participating in the conference app, doing things like checking in sessions, completing a survey, tweeting while you're at the conference, will also give you an opportunity to win some of these awesome prizes that we're giving away at the closing remarks tomorrow at the end of the day. You can see we're giving away one of the brand new Series 3 Apple Watches, a brand new top-of-the-line 13-inch MacBook, as well as a few other great tech goodies. And as a grand prize, as we always do at ClioCon, we're giving away an all-expense-paid trip to Vancouver to visit the Clio team. So, thank you. We have the Clio Cloud Conference divided into 3 tracks. We have the legal technology track, the business of law track, and Clio University, where we're giving a mix of sessions that are both introductory tracks as well as some more advanced sessions that you can join. Also encourage you to attend the Smart Bar. The Smart Bar is a place where you can get every question you might have ever hoped to have answered about Clio, answered by one of the amazing support folks that pick up the phone, answer your email, or engage in a live chat with you every single day. So great opportunity to meet with them face to face. We also have the Clio Lab, where you'll be able to work with the Clio product team hands-on and give them feedback on what we're building at Clio and what you'd like to see them build in the future. I mentioned the fact that we're partnering with a number of companies to bring this conference to you as well, and I want to give a huge thanks to the folks that have joined with us in delivering the Clio Cloud Conference with you. If I could have a huge round of applause for Lexicata and Lawpay. Lexicata and Lawpay are diamond sponsors. I encourage you to visit both of them, who are right outside of the main doors here. Lexicata does an unbelievably good job of intake and CRM, and Lawpay partners with Clio to enable credit card payments with Clio via Clio Payments. I'd also like to thank our platinum sponsors, our gold sponsors, and our silver sponsors, and finally our bronze sponsors for bringing us the conference today. You can see that we've got over 30 partners that are directly financially supporting the conference and making what we have today possible. Thank you so much. If you have one more round of applause for our sponsors, a sincere thank you. And we have set up media partners delivering the conference with us as well. Thank you to everyone that is joining us from the media to help spread the word about ClioCon and let the world know what's going on here over the next 2 days. There's a lot of exciting work, a lot of innovative, amazing work happening over the next 2 days that they'll be writing about. A couple of quick reminders. Tonight we have our networking event, which is available to everyone attending the conference. I strongly encourage you to attend. This is where you can see Clio fully living its work hard, play hard ethic. We will be having a great time at the Republic Warehouse. And tomorrow night we are hosting an amazing party to cap off the conference at the House of Blues. If you haven't already bought a ticket for this, there are a handful of tickets left at the registration desk that I'd encourage you to pick up as soon as possible if you would like to attend this. This will be an amazing time. Kicking off the conference, kicking off the evening event tonight will be the Reisman Awards. And these are our inaugural customer awards where we recognize excellence and innovation in Clio using law firms. We launched this competition earlier this year. We were blown away by hundreds of amazing submissions of law firms, nonprofit organizations doing amazing work and leveraging Clio in amazing, innovative ways. We're really, really proud to share these stories with you, and we'll be announcing the winners of the inaugural Reinvention Awards tonight. Also, I'd like to acknowledge the fact that the Riesmans are named after Clio's very first customer, Catherine Marino-Riesman, who is in the audience here somewhere. Catherine, if you could stand up for a second. I think it's fair to say that Clio might not exist if Catherine had decided to be our very first beta user and later our very first customer. And she represents and embodies a lot of what I think modern, forward-thinking law firms should look like. And Catherine, a sincere thank you for being our first customer. So we have a lot of exciting product announcements to share with you today. It's probably the most substantial and impactful product announcements, set of product announcements we've ever made in Clio's history. And what I want to do before I get into those product announcements is walk through with you basically our thinking over the last year that was really kicked off by last year's Legal Trends Report. The Legal Trends Report was really a watershed moment for the legal industry and something that really charted a new course for Clio. When we looked at the results of that Legal Trends Report, it changed the way we were framing everything at Clio, and that's what I want to walk through with you over the next few minutes. And walk you through what was basically an epiphany at Clio. But before I get into the content of the keynote, I want to kick things off with what is an annual tradition, and that is to take a selfie with all of you and give me 1 minute to do that. And if everyone could just kind of crowd in so I can get you in frame, I think it's going to be hard to fit everyone in, but make sure to smile. There we go. There we go. All right, so let's take a look back. Let's take a brief look at Clio's history over the last decade. Our original vision for Clio was to move legal practice management to the cloud. And we had this original vision back in 2007. If you think back to 2007, this was the same year that Steve Jobs unveiled the iPhone for the first time. Everyone in this room, if you were using a mobile phone, was using a BlackBerry. And I remember when we first launched Clio, all the requests we got for BlackBerry apps in the early days. Things have changed a lot in that 9 years since we launched Clio in 2008. I also want to remind you what practice management software looked like in 2008. This is a screenshot of Amicus Attorney, which was then the leading product in the practice management space. And this is me and Ryan in March of 2008, launching Clio at the ABA Tech Show. You can see that launching a startup puts on city miles. I think we've aged pretty substantially over the last 9 years. I think Clio's looking better than ever, though. The branding looks a little bit dated. And in this photo, you are, by the way, if you were an early customer in those days, you're looking at the entirety of Clio's product development, support, sales, and marketing team in this one photo. This was Clio's first website in all of its 2008 Web 2.0 glory. And this was the first blog post ever written about Clio in June of 2008, written by Bob Ambrogi, who gave us our first taste of what news coverage looked like. It was something that brought an unbelievable influx of traffic to Clio's website. And Clio was news back then because we were the very first cloud-based legal practice management solution in the marketplace. And over the last 9 years, we have seen an unbelievable amount of success, thanks in large part to the people in this room that have been evangelists for Clio and helped spread the word. And after we got going with that little kick of energy in the beginning, We saw ever-growing momentum and have now grown to a worldwide organization with over 150,000 legal professionals depending on Clio every single day to get their work done across 90 countries. As an organization, we've also grown tremendously. Over the last 2 years, we've almost doubled the number of employees working at Clio. We've got our headquarters in Vancouver, BC, and our second office, HQ2, in Toronto, Ontario. And just in the last 2 years, we've opened 2 new offices, one in Dublin, Ireland, to support our European expansion efforts, and one in Calgary, Alberta, which we're just opening next month as a new development office. So we've come a long way from the early days of Clio, where Ryan and I were working in our respective basements on the very first versions of Clio, to an organization and a product that I'm really proud of, that I think in a lot of ways, we look back at that initial vision of moving practice management to the cloud and feel mission accomplished. You know, we feel like we have largely succeeded in doing that. We're especially proud of the fact that Clio spawned an entire legal cloud industry as well. We have not just 1 or 2 cloud-based practice management products, but now a very healthy ecosystem of dozens of products in that space, and related products supporting all sorts of different types of legal work. So the future is here. It's just not evenly distributed yet. We've got legal practice management. We've got everybody in this room that gets it and is using cloud-based legal practice management. And I'm confident that over the next few years, it will become a simple baseline expectation that lawyers are running their practices in the cloud. Which prompted us at Clio last year to start thinking about what's next. If we've largely accomplished our goal of moving legal practice management to the cloud, what comes after that? What's the next 10 years going to look like for us? What is the next act for Clio going to be? And that's what I want to walk through with you over the next few minutes and talk about the epiphany that we went through with the publication of the Legal Trends Report, and how that's really helping us chart what our course will look like over the next 10 years. I think it's really important we do this as well, because for companies to thrive, they need to reinvent themselves every 5 to 10 years, and that's really what we're underway at doing at Clio now. And to do that, we've reframed what our mission is in a more audacious and grand scope. Our initial vision 10 years ago was to move legal practice management to the cloud. And now we're framing things in a slightly different way, in a slightly more revolutionary way, in that we see our mission as transforming the practice of law for good. Thank you. And for good has a very deliberate double meaning here, which is we want transforming the practice of law to be our collective dent in the universe, something we can call our accomplishment, something that we all feel like we've accomplished and made a really positive impact on the world. The other part of for good means making the practice of law better, making lawyers happier, making their clients happier, making the delivery of legal services easier and lower friction, creating amazing client experiences and customer experiences, making the profession happier, and also hopefully increasing access to justice by accomplishing all of this. So this is our new vision, our new mission statement, and something that we plan on accomplishing over the next decade. I think we've made meaningful progress on this already, but we're just getting started. So I mentioned the Legal Trends Report, and what a momentous moment this was for the legal industry, and having its first data-driven report of actual data outlining key performance indicators for lawyers in an industry that really was operating in a vacuum without any high-quality data sources to benchmark against or to assess how it might improve itself. This was a watershed moment for the legal industry. And despite being a profession that is 4,000 years old, the legal profession has never really been all that data-driven. And you really can't blame the lawyers. There's just a lack of data that was made available to them. If you look at the state of the art for what existed in terms of studies and benchmarking reports for lawyers, you really had anecdotal, self-reported data, often trapped up in arcane data sources that the average lawyer just could not access, never mind figure out how they could leverage that data to improve their practice. And what we realized a year ago was that the billions of dollars of billing volume that was flowing through Clio every single year, if we aggregated and anonymized that data, we would be able to deliver really impactful insights to our customers to help them improve their practices. And this is exactly what we did in the 2016 inaugural edition of the Legal Trends Report. And today we're releasing the 2017 edition of the Legal Trends Report, where we've updated and refined all of the data that we presented in 2016. And we've also expanded the report in some meaningful and important ways that I think you'll be really excited to see. The Legal Trends Report is, by the way, being published today. There's a download link that will be published through the app, so feel free to review the Legal Trends Report and be ready to attend George Saharis' session presenting the full Legal Trends Report later on today. And he'll do a deep dive on what I will highlight a few elements of over the next few minutes. A few highlights from the 2017 Legal Trends Report. We have a brand new billable hour index where we've broken down the high-level, firm-level billable hour rate that we presented last year and refined that so that we show lawyer and non-lawyer rates and how those have trended over time. We're also able to compare those rates to the Consumer Price Index so we can see how we're benchmarking against inflation. Today, we're also releasing a new interactive tool where you can input information about your practice area and your geography and benchmark yourself against your peers, both in your state and other states, and see how you compare in terms of your rate and other key performance indicators. So this is a brand new tool that will, we hope, deliver you brand new insights and make the Legal Trends Report more actionable than it's ever been. We're also going one level deeper in terms of the kinds of data we're able to talk through in the Legal Trends Report. We talked about state-level billable rates last year, and this year for key metropolitan areas, we're able to publish billable hour indices for those MSAs. And we're also able to look at really interesting trends in terms of how lawyer hourly rates have trended in relation to non-lawyer hourly rates for both urban and rural regions. And we can see some high-level trends that, unsurprisingly, bill more than their rural counterparts, that there's an increasing disparity between those two hourly rates. So these are the kinds of questions we're answering and deep diving in the 2017 Legal Trends Report. But the key performance indicator story that we talked about last year, that was a bombshell moment in this keynote address last year, was walking through what we described at that time as the devastating funnel for lawyers. And I'll walk through this slide again, because this was the slide and the data that set off this epiphany at Clio and charted our course for the next decade, is really looking at this chart and the devastating funnel. When we look at the 8 hours that a typical lawyer has in their workday. And we confirmed this via survey data in this year's report, by the way, that the median billable workday is 8 hours. When we look at the utilization rate, which is the number of hours that are billed every single day, the average lawyer is only billing 2.3 hours of work per day. The realization rate, which is the number of hours that actually end up on bills going to clients, this is after discounting, is only 1.9 hours. And the collection rate is just, which means, after bad debt, how much do you get paid, is only 1.6 hours. So we're only getting paid for 1.6 hours a day, which is a devastating funnel. Nobody would be able to survive on those kinds of unit economics in other industries, and yet we somehow made it work in legal. but we saw this utilization rate as obviously the place for us to focus in helping make the legal industry better. And this missing 6 hours, as we call it, is what Clio's new mission is to help our lawyers either find more clients to stay busier in these 6 hours, or to be more efficient and be more productive. We think the utilization rate should be much closer to 100% than it is to 20%. And this is what prompted for us a lot of questions as well. If we're gonna fulfill this mission of finding these missing 6 hours and giving them back to you and helping you turn them into productive billable time, what can we do to do that? And we realized that the Legal Trends Report was just the tip of the iceberg. The data that we were looking at through Clio gave us a lens into what was happening and what the end result for this devastating utilization rate was, but it didn't let us understand where that time was going.
So as part of the 2017 Legal Trends Report, what we launched is a brand new survey to accompany the report and to support the data-driven insights we have in the report with an explanation from lawyers in terms of where that
billable time is going. And we surveyed almost 3,000 lawyers as part of this survey and asked dozens of questions that helped us really kind of build a more complete picture of what explained what was happening in the funnel I outlined earlier. And here's what we found. One of the questions we asked and dug into in a real amount of depth was trying to understand where these missing 6 hours were going. And as I mentioned earlier, we really have two hypotheses for where these missing 6 hours were going. Either lawyers weren't busy enough because they didn't have enough clients to stay busy, or they weren't productive enough and they were doing too many administrative and overhead tasks in those 6 hours. So it turns out it's both. The survey that we did really gave us a firm conclusion that the missing 6 hours are going mostly to business development tasks. So around 33%, or 2 hours of those missing 6 hours, are going into business development. And almost half of that time, about 3 hours, is going into overhead administrative tasks. Things like office administration, generating and sending bills. 11% of time spent configuring technology. We think there's room for improvement there. 6% on collections. So this is where the missing 6 hours are going. And again, our vision on where to take Clio next is in eliminating those missing 6 hours. The other facet to the 2017 Legal Trends Report is a consumer survey. And we're launching a consumer survey which will continue to operate every year. And in this consumer survey, we're asking questions basically trying to understand what consumers are looking for in lawyers. If we're going to help bridge the gap between lawyers delivering services the way they think consumers want them and consumers who know exactly how they want to consume legal services, we think that part of the Legal Trends Report and part of this annual report we're giving every single year should give you insights, not just holding up a mirror in terms of how your key performance indicators are performing and benchmarking yourself against those key performance indicators, but we also want to provide you a window
out to the consumer world and have a better understanding of where consumers are at and how consumer behavior is trending and how you can deliver legal services that meet consumer expectations.
So another data point we'll be walking through in the 2017 Legal Trends Report is answering basic questions like, how do consumers decide on a lawyer? First of all, a large majority of people find lawyers via referrals. And I think many of you will call this an unsurprising result or an unsurprising finding, but this is really important. We can see that the top three sources of how lawyers are finding, or I'm sorry, how consumers are finding lawyers are referrals from friends or referrals from another lawyer. We can see how important online search has become for how consumers are finding lawyers. And you can also see that consumers aren't necessarily going directly to your website to see your credentials. They maybe don't care that you graduated at the top of your class in law school. they're really looking for referrals and word of mouth to find you, or they're looking for you directly online. Another important question we ask is, what kind of criteria are consumers looking for when they decide on a lawyer? We can see that the number one thing consumers are looking for is responsiveness. And by the way, when they're looking for responsiveness, they're not looking for get back to me within 1 or 2 business days. Responsiveness today is measured in minutes, and this is what consumers are looking for. They're also looking for free initial consultations. Almost 50% of consumers are looking for flat fee arrangements. They're looking for lawyers that let them pay by credit card. And you can see the thing they care about least is how great looking your website is. And I think a lot of lawyers will find the criteria consumers are looking for at odds with how they might be packaging out their services. And this is where we think, as an industry, we have some really interesting work to do in bridging this gap between what consumers are looking for and how lawyers are delivering their services today. Another really important part of our thinking at Clio, and as I mentioned, the course we're charting for the next decade, is being driven by what we call an effortless experience. And I've talked about this over the last couple of years at the Clio Cloud Conference. And this is a theme and a thread that you're going to see us talk about for the next 10 years. And I really think it's a crucial concept and a really important takeaway for us. If we look at the companies that have really redefined and disrupted the spaces they're in, companies like Uber, Airbnb, and Amazon, they have achieved the level of disruption they have through creating effortless experiences for their consumers. Amazon is just relentlessly improving and iterating on its services and reducing friction every place they can, making amazing effortless experiences an everyday common experience for its customers, to the extent that they're even building, these dash buttons that you can press to get same day or next day fulfillment of your coffee pods or your dishwasher detergent. We can also see, when we're talking about effortless experiences, how consumers want to get those experiences. If we look at this trend line at a very high level, what we're showing here is by age group, with the leftmost being the millennial demographic, all the way up to folks that are 60 plus, how their relative preference for live phone interaction, which is in light blue, compared to web-based interactions, which is dark blue, trends over time. And the high-level takeaway here is, if you're selling services to millennials and trying to interact with them, they want to be interacting with you over the web, over a mobile phone, and not over a telephone. For those of you that attended ClioCon last year, you'll remember Gary Vaynerchuk's talk, where he talked about the fact that everything in just a few years is going to be through mobile. And we really believe in that thesis at Clio as well. We think that in the future, in the not distant future, consumers will not only be finding lawyers primarily on mobile, but also expecting that the majority of their legal transaction and their interactions with their lawyer will also be on mobile. So how do we start moving toward that vision and helping everyone in this room realize that vision together so that we can deliver legal services the way consumers are looking for them? I'm also going to share a couple of anecdotes highlighting, for me personally, what effortless experiences look like. And we often think about this idea of effortless experiences in a big, grandiose way. And you don't need to be at Amazon scale with drones and high technology and unbelievable technology and infrastructure to deliver packages. You can sometimes make improvements in terms of effortless experiences with a pretty simple set of tweaks to your business. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine was recently in the market for a new dentist. And if you think lawyers have it hard rather in terms of having commodified services, dentists have it even harder. And how did my friend Chris decide on a new dentist? He didn't look at their credentials. He didn't look at their website. He looked for a dentist and used one and only one criteria in choosing his new dentist, which was, do they have a mobile app that lets him book appointments with them? He does not want to ever place a call to his dentist, and he never wants to have a reminder phone call from his dentist. He wants it mobile first, completely electronic, and that's exactly how he chose his dentist. I'll give you another example. These are my kids, Ian, Patrick, and Isla, who are 8, 6, and 5. And we decided to do a fundraiser for the local search and rescue folks in Deep Cove called North Shore Rescue. And so we decided we'd do this through a lemonade stand. And we made really great lemonade. It was like artisanal, handcrafted, hipster lemonade. It was really, really good. We decided to be kind of audacious what we were asking for, to charge $5 a glass. And I'm also trying to teach them a little bit about entrepreneurship. And so location. We sited this lemonade stand right at the base of a very popular hiking trail in North Vancouver called the Quarry Rock Hike. And also in anticipating what consumers would be looking for on this trail, we know that this is a trail that there's a lot of young folks, a lot of millennials going up and down this trail, not carrying any cash, maybe have a credit card and a piece of ID tucked into their Lululemon hiking shorts. And we anticipated this, and the day before we sparked up the lemonade stand, I went out to a local store and picked up a square reader. And so my son Ian was calling out, lemonade for sale, hand squeezed lemonade for sale, and had people streaming by him saying, sorry, I don't have any cash. And when he said, don't worry, we take credit card, you could see people's jaws drop. And I could also see people buy lemonade just because they were so impressed that this 8-year-old was swiping their credit card in the square reader and accepting credit card payments. But a couple notes. This lemonade stand in the space of 3 hours did $500 of volume, raising money for the charity. And half of that volume was on credit card, on the square reader. And the takeaway here, when we do the survey of lawyers and look at how many lawyers accept credit card payments, we need to ask ourselves why a lemonade stand run by 8-year-olds is more sophisticated in its transactional capacity than the average law firm. And this is a place we have a huge amount of improvement to make. We need to realize that consumers are looking for really basic things, like being able to pay for credit cards. And when we ask them, I'm sorry, we only take check, or when we tell them we only take check, that is creating a lot of needless friction. So an important takeaway from a lemonade stand. And finally, I got a last-minute slide from a taxi ride we took last night, which was the best taxi ride I've had in my entire life. I'm going to play a short clip of what this taxi ride looked like. This was not a setup. I promise you, this is an authentic story. We were headed home after our speaker dinner last night. So we had a nice, welcoming reception for the speakers over the next 2 days. We're heading home. We load into this cab, and I'm tired. I'm ready to put a few final turns on the Keynote and head home. Just sit in the front seat here, and the cabbie hands me an iPad and says, "You're the DJ." And I get to pick any song I want from his Apple Music collection. So I picked Imagine Dragons' Thunder here. And this light show, laser light show, starts up in the cab. And the 10-minute cab ride back turned into this amazing experience. He had a smoke machine in his house. So aside from being slightly concerned that your cab driver has lasers shooting around inside the cab, this was an amazing experience. We got out of this cab and asked for the guy's business card and immediately phoned the Cleons still back at the reception saying, call this guy and ride with him. And I gave him a $20 tip because he made the 10 minutes so amazing. So here's a cab driver who can either be sitting around, lamenting the unstoppable force that is Uber, or figure out how are you going to innovate and stand out from the crowd. And this guy with, admittedly, a pretty extensive modification to his cab has been able to stand out in this unbelievable and remarkable way. And is, I'm sure, making hundreds of extra dollars per day and is busy all day long because he's found a way to deliver what people want while they're in New Orleans. So all of these things have kind of been building for us at Clio. We kind of see a confluence of the data we saw with the Legal Trends report, the effortless experience narrative that I just walked through, and the growth challenges that we know the legal industry is all feeling, and a lot of people in this room are feeling. And we put a lot of thought into how do we combine all this into one theme and deliver a message at this conference that is actionable, that you can walk into every session thinking about it. Think about how do I apply what I'm hearing here to what Jack talked about in his keynote. And here's the metaphor to think about over the next 2 days. Who's familiar with the concept of flywheel? You have to be like kind of mechanically inclined. Not too many people. Okay, so I'm gonna walk through this really quickly. The basic idea of a flywheel is that it's something that you can put a small amount of energy into incrementally and get it going, and it just starts building on its own momentum. And at some point feels like it has its own energy.
And you're not sure exactly which push helped realize that momentum and that energy.
But you can get it going, and a flywheel is a really powerful concept in business. The concept of a flywheel in business was first introduced by Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great. And he used Amazon as a case study around this flywheel. And I think Amazon is one of the most incredible businesses on the planet. I have no doubt that Amazon at some point will be the biggest company in the world. And when they achieve that vision, it's because they've invested relentlessly over the last 20 years in this flywheel for their business. And I actually think of the businesses we draw lessons from for legal, Amazon is maybe one of the most powerful sources of inspiration. When we look at how they surveyed the bricks and mortar landscape 20 years ago in the book industry, and realized there's a lot of opportunities for being more efficient, that maybe these vast networks of bricks and mortar stores weren't necessary, that maybe there's a way of delivering frictionless experiences over the internet. I think we'll be looking around at the legal landscape in 10 or 20 years, realizing that there's a lot of those same lessons that can be applied and will be applied from companies like Amazon. And let me walk through this flywheel concept at Amazon. The idea is that you can invest in improving any part of this flywheel and get that energy in driving growth. And you can push on any part of this flywheel, whether it's improving customer experience, which they know will drive traffic, which will draw more sellers to their platform, increase selection, which will also continue to improve customer experience. So the idea is that the important idea with the flywheel is that there's this self-reinforcing momentum. They also realize that by lowering cost structure and delivering lower prices to their customers, they're driving this positive customer experience. And you get this virtuous cycle happening and this unstoppable momentum that, again, 20 years into building on this flywheel, Amazon is unstoppable. This feeds on itself. And I think there's a very similar concept in legal that we can apply. When we thought really carefully about the data we were looking at in the Legal Trends report, and we will look at the consumer data we were able to gather from the Legal Trends report, this was the epiphany we arrived at Clio in realizing how important this flywheel concept is for legal and for lawyers, and how central the customer experience is for legal as well. If you deliver an amazing customer experience, you're going to drive referrals, which will help drive more business. You will also drive repeat business from your existing customers. Leaving your customers with positive experience will also drive positive reputation on the internet, on sites like Google, sites like Apple. And finally, we also realized that the cloud is a really disruptive technology for lawyers that can enable lawyers to deliver their services with a lower cost structure, potentially packaging that up into lower prices for consumers, or alternatively, just a different package in terms of flat fee structures or legal services that are packaged in other ways, ready for consumption in the way that consumers want to consume those legal services. And again, if we're packaging up our legal services, delivering an effortless experience, leveraging the cloud, we can help create better and better customer experiences. We'll get more and more data understanding what kinds of behaviors are correlated with positive customer experiences and help build those into our day-to-day practices. Maybe build those into the software you're leveraging to deliver on those deliver those legal services. So another way of framing this flywheel for us at Clio is in thinking about how we've traditionally built Clio. If we divide the kinds of features and functionality we're delivering with Clio into two categories, one dimension is operational excellence. And that's really your day-to-day operating capacity. How are we making you more efficient in your day-to-day tasks? And like I said, we're by no means done there. We will be making improvements and refining this for the next decade. But where we see the huge opportunity for us in terms of what we're building at Clio is in helping move up this y-axis and helping you deliver amazing customer experiences that leave your customers thrilled, leave your customers driving additional referrals and repeat business to you, and us being part of this virtuous cycle. To accomplish that, we're going to make Net Promoter Score one of our North Star metrics that we monitor and measure when we're shipping new product and new code to you to use in your practices. And we're looking at the Net Promoter Score not of your customer, not of you yourself, but of your customers. We would like you to ask your customers, and this will be automatically surveyed if you opt in, be able to ask your customers if they would recommend your law firm to a friend or colleague.
And based on that response, you'll get one of three categories of consumers. You'll get detractors, which are people that are actively unhappy with the services they received. Passives who give you a score of 7 or 8, who are kind of meh. And promoters, who are the ones that you want to double down on. When you hear back from a promoter, you want to understand what part of that experience for them was amazing.
The promoters will also be the ones that you want to send a follow-up link and say, by the way, do you want to leave a positive review for me on Google or on Avvo? They'll also be the ones that you follow up with, maybe saying, do you have referrals you can make in my business? Make that an active ask. These are really simple things that lawyers can deploy into their day-to-day practices to grow, but we think they need software and systems to deliver legal services in ways that consumers will leave happy and help drive this flywheel. So now on to our Apollo program, which is really the foundation that is going to make us realizing this vision of where to take Clio over the next 10 years possible. And I'm super excited to share what we've accomplished with you. So first of all, those of you that have been paying attention to Clio over the years know that we've got a fondness for Greek mythology. Our parent company is named Themis Solutions Inc. after Themis, the Greek god of truth and justice. Clio was the Greek muse of history, which we thought was an apt name for something that helped you keep track of everything that's happening in your practice. And Apollo is the Greek god of healing and light. And after 9 years, we felt like Clio did need some healing. An internet application ages in dog years. The internet moves fast. At 9 years old as an internet application, Clio was a 60-year-old man, and he needed a hip replacement. And with Apollo, those of you that were at ClioCon last year, you'll remember me talking about Apollo and basically setting it up as Clio's moonshot. This was something we were going to pour an enormous amount of energy into over the next year to deliver a completely rebuilt and reimagined Clio to you at ClioCon this year. This was the single biggest effort we've ever undertaken as a company, and I'm really thrilled to share with you the fact that we succeeded at this unbelievable moonshot.
Right after ClioCon last year, we got to work. We mapped out every single part of the application, identified the areas we wanted to improve Clio, synthesized all the feedback we received from you over the last 9 years, and got to work. If you visited Clio's HQ, you would see screenshots of the Clio interface, hand-drawn critiques of what we wanted to change on every single screen, hundreds of post-it notes covering every single inch of the office, and we got to work. We started rewriting Clio from the ground up. We have an unbelievably talented product development team of 85 individuals that rode super hard over the last year. And there was a lot of long nights going into building the experience that we're going to deliver with Apollo. And to introduce Apollo, I would like to share with you a short video.
As soon as I started using Clio, I was hooked. That was it.
This was going to be a system that was going to give us more growth potential.
Clio definitely allows us to save a lot of time. And because of those time-saving features, we have more time to spend with our clients.
We literally live and breathe through Clio.
It's in the cloud, it's simple to use.
It handles everything we need to do, all from one place.
It feels a little bit like you have a law firm in your pocket.
No one, no clients, no people that call our office are ever forgotten.
And this is the type of service that Clio provides.
It's pretty easy for me to recommend Clio to people.
It helps us to constantly improve the system.
If Clio didn't exist, then we couldn't do the work that we're doing. The service that Clio is providing to us is changing lives.
Houston, flight is go.
Clio is just a game changer for us.
Our attorneys have loved it.
They're just constantly improving.
Ignition sequence start.
Every year it gets better.
6,
There's no reason to go anywhere else.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
So what I'm really so excited to share with you today is the new Clio experience, which is the fulfillment of our Apollo mission. You can think about the new Clio experience as a reimagining of Clio from the ground up. And we landed on the term reimagining, realizing that redesign didn't really do justice to what we've accomplished with the new Clio. We took apart Clio and rebuilt it from the foundations and made sweeping, huge changes and improvements that could really only be done with that foundational work that we did over the last year. To give you an idea of how hard we worked on this, we first of all synthesized 9 years of listening to you, our customers, which involved assimilating some of the feedback we received over 235,000 support interactions, over support over email, over phone calls, over live chat. We validated, just since January, our thinking with you in terms of the direction we're going with Apollo, with over 600 hours of customer interviews, over 60 days spent on site with law firms, showing them Apollo and walking through how Apollo worked. And over 4,000 comments we received back from beta testers and early access customers for Apollo in terms of what they saw and what they liked and wanted to see improved in those early versions of Apollo. And the culmination of all of that work is in the new Clio experience that you see here. It's hard to get across the scope of what we've accomplished with the new Clio experience in slides, and you really need to experience it hand-on, but I'm going to attempt to give you a high-level walkthrough of some of the fundamental design tenets
we've applied and adhered to in redesigning and rethinking and reimagining Clio. And what you should see in these screenshots is something that looks familiar. We want you to recognize Clio and still feel at home, but also feel like we've made a huge renovation and improved almost every single aspect of how you use Clio on a day-to-day basis. So a few things that we've tried to accomplish here. Number one, we've tried to make every screen in Clio information rich, to put all the information you need at your fingertips. When you load up a given screen in Clio, we want to make sure that with as few clicks as possible, you've got every single relevant bit of information that you need to accomplish a given task at your fingertips on one screen without requiring a lot of clicking around navigation. You can also see that we've moved the navigation to the left, and this, the Matter dashboard screen, you can see that we've, in one screen, tried to present you with everything, all the high-level relevant details on Matter on just one screen. There's some really foundational work that has gone into the new Clio experience as well from an architectural level. We've built Clio in a way that's called a single-page application, which means that when you navigate through Clio, the full web page doesn't need to reload anymore. You get the information you need with just a partial page reload. And one way to think about this might be the difference between Hotmail and Gmail in terms of performance. The new Clio experience is faster than it's ever been before. And again, difficult to convey through slides, but one of our early access customers, Greg McLaughlin, I think said it best when he said the new Clio experience is fucking fast. Just how fast? Clio is 5 times faster than the previous version of Clio. Let's talk about the frame for Clio's interface. If you look at just the frame, you can see that what we've tried to do is build a really clean information hierarchy. We've put a lot of time and energy into what is called information architecture and made it really easy for you to discern where you can click and how the information on a given page relates to other pieces of information on that page. We've also made a few subtle but important changes. You can see that the search has a more prominent location in the interface. We looked at usage behavior and realized that people use search extensively to navigate to the information they need in Clio. We've made search, first and foremost, a big piece of the navigation. We've also introduced the timekeeper application that you can see in the top right and completely redesigned and rethought the timekeeping piece. And you can also see the side navigation is going to be collapsible. So if you need that extra little bit of screen real estate to get your job done, once you've linked which icons relate to which parts of the application, you can collapse that navigation to make navigating easier. The timekeeper has been completely redesigned to show you at a glance how much you've billed for a given day. And we've also made it easier than ever for you to copy a time entry from a previous day for a given matter into today and keep your day-to-day timekeeping really easy. We've also added a new global create that you can see in the top right of the navigation, where you'll easily be able to create new items like calendar entries or tasks or contacts or matters in any part of Clio. We've also rebuilt search from the ground up. We know the previous version of search in Clio, in some cases, left a lot to be desired. And the new search is unbelievable. Like I said earlier, we want to make search something that you can depend on to navigate through Clio as a basic navigation mechanism. We've introduced a completely new back end that accomplishes your search 20 times faster than the previous search, all while being more comprehensive than ever For example, custom fields in Clio are now included in search results. Yes, thank you. And a couple other things to highlight. The user experience. I want to compare and contrast a couple of areas of the previous version of Clio to the new Clio experience to show some of this design thinking at work. I know something that all of you do every single day is create new matters. And the new matters screen in Clio, over the course of 9 years, has become a bit unwieldy, if you're being generous. What you see here is 9 years of us incorporating customer feedback and new types of information we want to track in matters. But in the vein of effortless experiences, we've also made the task of just creating a simple, everyday matter harder than it should be. So here's the redesigned new matter screen in the new Clio experience. Where you can see, you can see all of this design thinking at work, where we've made the 3 required fields for Clio for a new matter very easy to identify. We've made all of the optional information something you can expand and fill out if you need to. But creating a new matter is something you can do in just a handful of clicks and a couple of seconds. This is the area I'm most excited to share. We know that getting paid is important. And as we saw from the legal trends report, all the overhead time in generating bills and tracking payments and so on, that goes into overhead. That goes into the missing 6 hours. And we want to be part of solving that problem. So here's the previous version of Clio and the way we would present an individual bill. And you can see even see the entire bill or the entire invoice, you would need to scroll down and just click around a lot to navigate and see that information. Here's the new Clio experience, and all of that information consolidated onto one screen where you can change options for a bill, see the payments that have been received for a bill, and see a PDF rendering of, or preview of that bill, all in one screen with no navigation whatsoever. And I think this is a part of the overview that a lot of you are going to be excited about. This is the new receive payment screen in the new Clio experience. Something that has historically been very difficult in Clio is receiving payments against multiple bills. If I have an open balance for a client of, say, $12,000, and I would want to record a partial payment of $2,200 against that $12,000, in the new Clio experience, I can click one button and have those payments automatically applied across all of the bills. Boom. Another great example of this workflow-related design improvement is doing bulk billing. And this is, again, something we've seen really, somebody's applauding already, just seeing the screenshot. Something that's really amazing for us as a company, but has also come with its challenges, is that in our very early days, Clio was designed for solos and small firms. For the first few years of our existence, for us, a large firm using Clio was a 3-person firm. We now have customers in the AmLaw 100 using Clio in their firms. So we see use cases for Clio ranging from, again, solos who are always our foundation customers that we'll never turn away from, all the way up to firms with dozens or hundreds of lawyers and timekeepers that we need to accommodate. And bulk workflows are one of the places that we've seen a need for a lot of improvement from a workflow perspective. Bulk operations are now easier than ever. And one of the areas we've vastly improved this is in automatically approving and applying trust payments. Where you used to have to navigate to each individual invoice to apply payments, you can now select hundreds of bills at a time, and with one click, apply all available outstanding trust funds to those bills for payment. And to give you an example of how improved this workflow is, if you were working on 100 bills, in the previous Clio, it would take you an hour and a half working at a reasonably fast pace, we made somebody do it, to apply all those trust payments to the bills. In the new Clio experience, that's something you can get done in under 5 minutes. The new calendar is amazing. I'll use one word to describe the calendar, and that's beautiful. Another thing we're trying to build with Clio is a beautiful interface. We realize that Clio is something that many of you have open all day long. You are looking at Clio for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. And aside from making your work easier, we want to make it beautiful and something that you enjoy looking at. And the calendar is a place that we've put a lot of that design thinking to work. And we think you'll be really excited by the new calendar. We've also made syncing email easier than ever. We have a brand new integration we're launching with Outlook for Office 365 and a very deep integration into Outlook for Office 365. We know that Outlook is a widely used, much loved product among lawyers. And the new integration that we're launching with Outlook, I think, realizes the dreams that many of you have of how Clio and Outlook might work well together. You can now, in the right sidebar with this Outlook integration installed, connect to, link emails directly into Clio from Outlook. You can, thank you. You can push attachments from Outlook directly into Clio's document management system, and you can track time directly from within Outlook as well as you're working on correspondence rules. So that's new Clio. If you're excited about what you're seeing with new Clio, be sure to use this hashtag on Twitter. Our team is paying attention to all the feedback you're giving over the course of the keynote. All in all, new Clio is deploying over 220 improvements to the product. Our team has worked tirelessly over the last year to deliver this to you, and I've only scratched the surface of what we delivered here. Right after my keynote, Eric and Ernie Bin will be walking through Apollo in more depth, talking about the design thinking that went into Clio, and over 20 sessions in Clio University will be deep diving on what we've built with Apollo. But I'm really, really excited by what we've built here, and it would mean a lot to me if all of you gave the Clio team a round of applause for the work. So one question you might have is, the new Clio experience looks like it might be the perfect practice management system. We might have nailed it, and I think in a lot of ways we have, and we've moved not all the way, but substantially along this dimension of operational excellence. And where does this customer experience side of things come from? Where are we going to start folding this functionality into the project? And one project that we're launching today as we cap off Apollo and start on our next chapter is something we're calling Project Hermes, which is the Greek, the messenger of the gods for the Greek mythology fans. And what we're doing with Project Hermes is building a brand new version of Clio Connect as a mobile-first, cloud-first experience. And what we're thinking about in very broad terms is WhatsApp for lawyers. A WhatsApp that your clients communicate to you through a messaging interface. When we look at that legal trends report and look at what consumers are looking for from their lawyers, we see very clearly that they're looking for instant communications. They're looking for mobile-first communications. They want responsiveness. They want low friction. They want effortless experiences. How can we realize that vision? Through mobile, through a brand new application that we'll be launching and previewing to you here at ClioCon with a mobile-first Clio Connect experience. Really excited to share that with you. Thank you. And we think it's one small step in the direction of what we want to accomplish over the next 10 years in delivering a Clio to you that allows you to deliver
amazing experiences to your clients. Now, I'm going to pay my respects to Steve Jobs and leave one big announcement for the close of the keynote, and that relates to the Clio platform. The Clio platform has been an unbelievable boon for our customers, and we want to double down on it in a big way. Just by a show of hands, who has an integration of some type activated in Clio, whether that's with Google or Outlook or one of our integration partners? I think that's almost everybody in the room. The platform is a really integral part of our vision for the future of the practice of law, and we're not going to be able to transform the practice of law for good alone. We're going to need some friends to do it, and that is our integration ecosystem. The Clio platform, since we launched it 5 years ago, has grown to over 60 integration partners. At ClioCon today, we're announcing 7 new integrations. Some really exciting integrations. Tally, to name one, is an Alexa assistant that allows you to track time using your voice with one of the Alexa assistants. Another great integration we're launching is with Logical, which is an e-discovery cloud solution, and you'll be able to easily track your e-discovery billings and push those billings directly into Clio's billing system. And what we're doing at ClioCon today is doubling down on the platform in a really big way. We're launching API version 4, which only makes sense to you if you're a geek, but if you're a geek, you should be excited about this. For those of you that aren't geeks, the Application Programming Interface version 4 is a brand new version of our API that allows you to build your own tools and products on top of Clio. You can even build a custom solution just for your law firm using this API. If you think it'd be cool to have a chatbot on your website that interacts with Clio in the back end and does things like create matters for you automatically, you can do that with API version 4 and maybe a couple of coding camps in the interim. The API version 4 is something we've used in Clio's own mobile apps and in the new Clio experience. In a nutshell, if you can see it done in Clio, it can be done via the API. So that's big news for our integration partners and anyone that wants to build on top of the platform in terms of the capabilities that you have today. We're also launching a brand new app directory today, where our integration partners will be more discoverable than ever. You'll be able to more easily see category by category which integrations exist for Clio, and we made it easier than ever to feature and highlight the integrations we're really excited about, and for you to find integrations that might help you in your practice. This I'm really excited about. We're launching a competition to help spur activity on the new API version 4 with the launch code competition. The launch code competition is going to be a prize that we award to the best new integration that is built against the API version 4. The contest opens today, and over the next year, we'll accept submissions leading up to Clio Cloud Conference 2018. We'll select a handful of finalists, and at ClioCon next year, we'll run a Shark Tank-like part of the conference where we pick out of those handful of finalists which one's the winner. And we hope this will spur an unbelievable amount of activity that makes the progress we've made on the platform to date seem like nothing. The launch, I'm sorry, if you want to apply, you can go ahead. The launch code competition will culminate in a $100,000 award to the best new integration next year. One last thing. We're also doubling down on the platform with an additional investment. In addition to the $100,000 launch code prize, we're also announcing a first for the legal industry, which is $1 million developer fund for us to have a fund to invest in and support new startups and new companies building against the Clio platform. We think that this will really pour gas on the fire and ignite
the amazing progress we've seen in the platform over the last 5 years. And I think it's important for everyone in this room to realize that a thriving ecosystem on Clio is an unbelievably good thing. The platform succeeding in the way that it is means that legal innovation will be happening first on Clio. And the integration partners that are building on the Clio platform will be delivering new kinds of value to you, addressing needs and tailoring Clio to your practice areas in ways that Clio, the core product, never could. This is a huge win for you as customers. It's a huge win for any of you that want to get your hands dirty and start coding, building your own integrations, leveraging tools like Zapier, for example, that allow you to easily build your new integrations. This is a really big deal and something that I hope you're all really excited about. That's the platform. So some of you might be asking, when do I get the new Clio experience? And you get it right now. Everybody in this room has the new Clio experience enabled on their Clio accounts. You'll see a little green button in the top right where you can activate the new Clio experience. You can opt in and out of the new Clio experience, so you can kind of dip your toes in, see what you like, where you'd like to give us feedback. And again, leverage the next 2 days as an opportunity to talk face-to-face with our product development team, the Clio lab in the hallways here, and give them feedback about what you're seeing with the new Clio experience. You're getting the new Clio experience weeks ahead of anybody else. We'll be doing the general release later in October, but everybody in this room gets early access, and we're super excited to hear your feedback. That's everything for the opening keynote. Thank you so much for your attention.